Hey everybody, we're getting started again. Happy 2025. I know we started a couple weeks ago, but we're back. And let's go to, I think it's this one. And there's Shawn. And we are
Hey,
here. That was a fun transition, actually. I want to change your font color because that's hard to see.
yeah, it's a little hard to see.
Oh, it's because before I think you had a white shirt on and now you have gray on gray. Um,
Maybe put like a box around it so that no matter what I'm wearing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. That would be guest name. Select color. We'll do the bright color. Bright, bright. Okay, that works, and that's on brand.
Yeah.
That's fun. Yeah, well, I mean, I probably should do like a box and see if I can do that. I've never actually played with all of this. Back, text transform, opacity, gradient. Oh, I can do a gradient. Let's do select color. We'll do to blue. Okay. Oh, that's fun. Sorry, I'm playing.
Oh,
So
you're good.
I don't like to play live, but why not, right? It's a new year.
Can't be
Yeah, I don't know.
scared to try
I
new
want to
things.
do a background. Text, font, text transform. No. Vertical. Oh, no. Oh, background color. There it is. Oh, background opacity. Yeah, so I just need to bring that up a bit.
Hmm. There we go.
There we go.
There we
Oh,
go.
wow, that looks great.
Yep.
Okay, we'll keep it that. And then let me get off of that. So there. Okay. And yeah, tactical going live. Actually, that looks good. I'm kind of
Yeah, it
impressed
looks
with
great.
that.
So what would you? We've been
Oh
kind
yeah,
of.
education and AI and all of that.
Yeah.
I was like, what were we going to talk about?
What were you gonna talk about today?
Yeah, it's been a day.
Well, I think higher higher education, computer science degrees have got to be in distress,
They're
right?
probably terrified right now.
Yeah, like
Let's
to
just
say
be
it
honest.
politely,
Yeah.
right? And is there something that should be done, and what can we do? What do you think?
Well, do you think that so um getting the computer science degree, right? You
Hmm.
you go through your core classes and you learn history and art appreciation and biology and all of that. But let's talk about
Hmm.
computer science specifically. Um, there are some of the classes that I took um, that were essential in
Hmm.
my learning. It taught me how to learn. It taught me how to um, break down functions and understand what a problem was and then break down the problem into its components. And it taught me actually how to approach a computer science problem. But
Hmm.
that was about three classes that were that important to me
What,
out
what
of
what do you
out of
remember?
four
What the classes
years.
were?
Um, yeah, design patterns was one of them. We had a design pattern class, which was amazing, and that's
Yeah.
when the gang like I was not to date myself, but I was in
Yeah.
college when the Gang of Four book came out,
All
and
right.
they
Let me see.
created a
Can
class
I find it?
immediately.
Can I quickly find it? It's
I,
over here somewhere. I think it's on the top shelf.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I have it up there too.
Yeah.
I definitely have the head first. I definitely have the head first design patterns book too,
Yeah.
but
Uh,
yeah,
by the way,
that was life
old
changing.
school, but all the head first books, top shelf.
Top shelf. Yeah, we
Top
we
shelf.
don't work for them. There is no promotion here,
No, but
but they're amazing.
yeah.
And kudos to the Head First publishing crew because they do good work. And yeah, the Head First design pattern, I tell everybody, just get it. You'll
Hmm.
never read the Gang of Four book. No one ever has.
you
Not cover to
just you just
cover.
look
It
cool carrying it.
Yeah, everyone has a copy. Like you want to get it autographed. Like,
Hmm.
but the head first book is amazing,
Yeah.
and it teaches you like the decorator pattern. And I'll never forget the example of what a latte is and the
Hmm.
coffee one. Um, anyway, back to the education. I think those three core classes, and I can tell you like intro to system design, intro the design patterns class, and then there was a computer logic class, but it wasn't the intro one. It was like an advanced one, and that
Hmm.
was Dr. Nino. And thank you, Dr. Nino. I'll call you out. He was life changing for me. And gave me so much crap for some of the stuff I wrote because it was bad. And he told me, your code is bad.
Listen,
And
it has to be bad so it can get better.
yeah, and sucked. But yeah, I got better because of him.
Yeah.
And amazing, amazing professor. I think he's retired now. I hope he's retired now. But yeah, that those three classes were the most important. And then when I went to Microsoft and worked with people from all over, and one of the best managers I ever had never got a computer science degree. And was he better than people that did? Yes. Just, I'm not
Hmm.
even gonna, in some cases, no, 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 hands down, yes.
Hmm.
So, but it was because his pursuit, and I think this is what you and I were talking about before, is he wanted it so bad
Yes.
that
In the
it
absence of
was
everything
it
else,
was literally an obsession for him.
yes. I think people really don't don't give that its proper credit. You can do anything properly motivated. Like people, hey, can I learn the code? Absolutely. Is it hard?
Yes.
Absolutely. And usually, right then and there, people stop because people are not used to saying, "Hey, this is going to be terrible." But properly motivated, and I think because we both were teaching at boot camps,
Hmm.
and I've come I wouldn't say I've come full circle, but I have my issues with what boot camps have become, and
That's fair.
what I would say to people all the time is like, hey, you could do anything properly motivated. What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to sacrifice to accomplish your goal? And
Right. What is
yeah.
your like what is your priority? And
Hmm.
I'm gonna put a little dark spin on this, that one of
Hmm.
my original sensei ever taught me when I started jujitsu a long time
Hmm.
ago. He's like, if someone wants to kill you, I don't care if you're a 5-degree black belt, you're gonna die. And
Hmm.
I was like, but he was like,
Hmm.
but they're willing to sacrifice everything to get you. And if
Hmm.
that's the case, you're gonna. And I was like, oh. And he was like, and that is the level of priority you should put on your training. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. I'll take a lighter version of what you said.
Yeah,
You
he
have to
was dark.
put so many layers between you and what is a terrible outcome. And a lot of times those layers have something to do with this, some form of discipline.
It always comes back. Like I was talking to somebody about this the other day about consistency, and I was like, consistency is the most important thing. And I was like,
Hmm.
I don't agree with that anymore. I used to
Hmm.
believe that
Hmm.
because consistency is a byproduct of discipline.
I agree. I like the way you put it too, because I really struggle. My natural state of being is inconsistency. I don't like to subscribe to something that means I'm gonna have to do the same thing every day, all day. I'm a Sagittarius. It's just like a sacrilege to me. But I'm willing at times to trade my dedication and time and effort to achieve an outcome that I have decided is what I need.
No,
And I think learning an
absolutely.
instrument is just the same. I think learning a language is the same, and I think learning a code is the same.
I think, yeah, I mean, anything that is, I would say, not trivial.
Hmm.
Uh, will take that level of discipline, and if you make it and I never, if you make it a priority, you're going to be successful at it, given um, it's a priority in your life. And now keep in
Hmm.
mind, I'm not saying that you have to practice it every day, but you have to do something about it every day, because I forgot who said this, but practicing every day doesn't necessarily make you better. It makes you good at whatever you're practicing. If
Hmm.
you
A
don't
really
know
good
the
point.
right way to do it,
That,
you will inherently get really good at doing things the wrong way.
yeah, if you don't have a system that is aligned to some measurement of correctness, you will, and this happens all the time. Like we
Right.
when we work out, like, oh, we're not using the right. Yeah, you can do 100 sit-ups, but you're using the wrong form, or you can do pull-ups, but you're using the wrong form, and what you're really doing is damaging your body. And yeah, I really agree that having a plan that is aligned to some measurement of correctness. I'm not talking about these religious holy wars we get into over JavaScript frameworks. I'm saying, what is the mechanical nature of the algorithm that you're going to be using 90% of the time?
Right. No, absolutely. And I think that's why it's good to find the people that you're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
um, and find the right people that are like, be a sounding board. So if you're operating in a silo and you think everything you're doing is perfect, you will never know that there's a better way, or more importantly, an easier way to do things. And I think
Yeah.
that that education happens through networking more often than YouTube.
Yeah. So it's interesting, and I don't want to date you or
Go
make
go
it.
go ahead.
Listen, I am coming up on 30 years, 96,
Yeah, we're the
right?
same. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
when we both
So
started.
I went through a lot of terrible cycles to be able to do it. So like I was having, like first of all, I have almost 30 years in this industry, and I still get imposter syndrome. I'm a well recognized speaker. I'm a teacher. I'm a lecturer. Like, but I still run into moments of imposter syndrome. I was having, I was coming into last year. I just decided I don't want to code every day. It's not fun fixing a problem that you didn't create, that you don't understand because the person who created doesn't understand what they're doing, right? Like I just at some
Right.
point, decided that. But then I've been going through this renaissance because of these tools and AI tools that make me feel better about being a single contributor developer, right? And
Yep.
part of that is like, oh, I don't know Next.js. Oh, now I'm using it. Now I'm learning again. Now I'm recognizing all these patterns and stuff. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I've seen all these component libraries. I can make some reasonable assertions of how this all stuff works. And I was watching this YouTube video where I'm going to bring it up while we're talking. Um, uh, there's a YouTuber, I think his name is Jason, that I follow, and they have a quiz game show format for like technology questions. And
That's
I've been
fun.
looking, yeah, and I've been looking at it, and at first I was like, these gotta be softballs because there's no way that like these questions are that, like, to me I would have deemed easy, but as I started watching them more and more, they do get fairly complex. And I started feeling a lot better about myself because I started, oh, I know the answer, or I was at least on the field with the answer, not like, oh, I have no idea what these guys are talking about. And that's what reminded me that all the time that you spend doing this is applicable in ways that you just do not fully understand yet.
No, that's, I mean, I think that's true in so many experiences that I've had. Is I've worked at so many, like, some of them are random companies. Like I've worked at a library management company. I worked at an
Mm-hmm.
insurance software place, compliance
Mm-hmm.
software. But what was really fascinating, oh, like, and I'll use the compliance software. I learned so much about the compliance industry that I have since taken other companies all the way through compliance audits and got them SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. And they're like, how do you know all this? I was like, well, I
Mhm.
kind of wrote the software that did it for a
Yeah,
couple of
yeah.
years. And I was like, if you want to go through HIPAA, I can take you through that too.
And this stuff is important because when you start building these large transactional systems, you got to understand that there's only certain type of players that play in that space.
Right.
Data, medical, like yeah, you're going to be solving those type of problems.
And the industries are really, really unique. So when you, if you ever get into insurance, which I, it's up to you.
Hmm.
um, but there's a there's a thing they're called accord forms, and
Hmm.
they are the industry standard for all insurance forms. And those are the things that, here, let me, oh, I got it.
Hmm.
Let's see if
Oh,
this
Shruti, unfortunately, that is
It's called
incorrect.
Leak
Wait, what?
Heat,
I said,
this
and all my favorite speakers and YouTubers are all in it. Jason's in it, and Mark Texan is in it. I think this is like probably the second or third time I've mentioned him.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I am going to add him to. Do you want to do this right now?
Uh, yeah, we can do it.
Will we get will we get in trouble for showing this?
I don't think so.
Okay. Let's see. I want to do theater mode. Is that there? Can you,
No, I'm I'm faded out.
yeah, hold on. Let's see if I can. I gotta put it in this screen. And then let's go into uh interview scene. Nope. Interview code.
There we go. That's probably a good one.
That's the one. And I think, yeah, we'll just go with that, even though you're going to be down here.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
mean, oops, not that one. Circular camera, interview circle. I'm going to get rid of that for a second.
Hmm.
And let's see.
oh, I said set state instead of use it.
It's time to play Lead Heat.
Oh, it had a
Here's your
fizz
host,
buzz
Mark
question.
Yeah,
Texan.
yeah. And it was
Hey,
really
friends,
good. So
welcome to
this is
Lead
Mark
Heat, the game
Texan,
show where we
he's a
have
great guy,
developers
he's
bring the
a
knowledge
well-known
or
speaker.
face
And then
the heat.
Jason,
Today's episode
learn
is
with
sponsored
Jason.
by
That's
DataStax.
his
And
channel.
Jason, tell us
They
more.
they came up with this.
DataStax
Oh,
is
that's
here to
Jason,
help us
isn't it?
build
Yeah,
our
yeah.
AI apps with Langflow, the AI development platform, and
And again,
AstraDB,
like
the near
the first
zero
time I
latency
watched it, I
database
was
with
like,
vector
are
and
these
knowledge
softball
graph
questions?
capabilities
Because
built in.
I feel
DataStax
like
is
they should
the
be
fastest
tougher, but
way
then
to
I
build
started
and deploy
realizing that they
AI
get
apps.
deeper and
All right,
deeper the
contestants,
more
are you ready for
down
the
the
worst
rabbit hole you
technical
go
interview of
of
your
the
career?
Oh, yeah.
chapters.
Yes.
Like I was
Like
doing
that
really good
energy,
with
people
all
are
of the
ready for the party.
API
Friends at home, here's
questions.
how it's going to work.
And then he started
Our
going
contestants
down
will
the
spin the wheel,
data
get
the
a
database
category. I'll
questions,
ask
and
a
it was like,
question.
okay,
They get it
yeah,
right,
I
they
can
get
see
points
how this
on the
could get
board. They get it
challenging really
wrong,
quickly.
they got to face the
And
heat.
you got to eat this super
Off
spicy
screen,
stuff
Shruti
when you
won.
get something
Shruti,
wrong.
go ahead,
That's why
choose
it's
a
called
category.
elite heat.
Oh, I would not do well on that game.
Mighty spin to open up the game.
Yeah,
We're going
but
to
I
start with
really
Gen
enjoyed
AI.
this
Contestants,
episode
prepare yourselves for the first
specifically.
question.
But I just think it's
What
a good
does
concept. Like
GPT
and
stand
I
for?
think making it a little bit more
Generator
lighter. I think we
transformer.
take
I don't know
ourselves
what
as
these.
software engineers
Oh,
far
Shruti,
too serious.
unfortunately, that is incorrect. Joe, do you want to take a stab at
This
this
is
question? No. So, Shruti, unfortunately, you have to take your first spicy bite. And speaking of spicy bites, today we'll be using Dino Nuggies to deliver the spice to
oh
our
god, yeah, I
contestants.
have to watch
Thank you
this
to our
another
friends
time.
at Dino for
Yeah.
sponsoring.
That's fun.
All right, Shruti, what's
You know,
your
it's so
first
funny because
spicy bite?
she was doing really well, and then
You
she
took the
just
first
got
bite,
wiped.
you keep the
Like
category
at
or
the
spin.
last, like the last section, I was like, wow, okay, it is kind of competitive.
Don't worry, I believe in you. I'm going to take that as a keeping the categories.
All right, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to watch that one because that would be fun. That's cool. Yeah, I
Yeah,
will save that for later.
but coming back to the idea that you know, you dedication will get you in place. Like discipline will bring you places that skills will not. Like you may have a specific skill, but a certain set of disciplines will allow you to gain many different types of skills.
Right. I mean, and I think we've talked about this before, is
Hmm.
learning how to learn is more valuable than knowing something.
Absolutely. And this is what ties us back to this question that we've been kind of going back and forth on is like school going to school for software engineering is one, will that still be a thing in the future, or is self-taught going to be the way? I mean, I
I don't
think both.
I think honestly, I think computer science degrees are going to fade away, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I
I
agree
think
with you.
they might pivot to something like specifically AI engineering rather than
Hmm.
computer science engineering. Uh, but with the things that you can create with Claude and all of that, some of the
Hmm.
basic coding that everyone's trying to do, it's great. I think the thing that's going to really grow is coding communities. And I think once you get like people like you, honestly, like, because I was like, hey, I got a coding question, I would ask you because
Hmm.
you're an expert, right? And once you find the people that you trust in their skill set, you're going to want to hold on to them. And then you're like, hey, I got an idea. This is what I want to do. And then you literally will run it
It's
by
so
them.
funny you say that because I like you're like I call like my little circle of trust, right? And I'll say two things. One, I'm so glad I have that circle, right? Like I know who the people are. Like I got a guy. People ask me all the time, like they ask me for resources all the time. I'm like, well, when they ask me about data, I always have to make this disclaimer. I go, listen, yes, I have the guy, but he's literally a fire breathing dragon. Like if you're not serious or just like don't go any further because this is
Right.
not just some random guy. He's the guy, and he has all of the uh, um, attitude with being the guy.
Right.
Yeah. So and the other thing I would say to that is I can't say it was I can't speak for everybody, but like the community aspect to what you're talking about, I think that's something that we enjoy now. That when I was coming up, it wasn't cool to be seen as not knowing something, so that just wasn't that wasn't a
You
thing.
would never ask the questions.
Yeah, you'd be like it could be detrimental to your career. It could be detrimental to your. It was just.
Well, and then especially when you're like in a new company and you're engineer number two,
Hmm.
and then out of random, like maybe the CEO comes by and goes, hey, I need you to build this tomorrow. And you can't tell him no.
Yes. Yeah. The,
And
you
you
know.
can't say, I don't know how to do that either, because either way
Yeah.
you're gonna get fired. Or at least
You
you feel like you're gonna get
Yeah,
fired.
like you feel like you're gonna be taken to the mat, and I advocate for. I actually had to create a framework of managing that. I think we talked about that, right? And it helped. It basically saved my computer science career. This framework, and I've used it with students, and I see a lot of benefit. You're already terrified to. And it doesn't matter what your boss like that first year, your boss is gonna come by, he's gonna parachute in, ask you something, you are gonna be terrified. It's going to lead to very stressful times, and most times you're gonna run from the challenge, right? Like given the most people will run from
Right.
it. And what I advocate for is setting expectations with your boss or your project manager or your lead that will lead to a conversation that will help you understand each other so that when he asks you something, he has a reasonable expectation of what to expect
Mm-hmm.
and that something that you can actually get through. And one, this has so many permutations. This is why so many program managers are terrible because they don't know how to manage their expectations when they're dealing with people who are not them. You
Right.
know, at most on a team, you get one, two rock stars, and
That's
everybody
fair.
else is pretty much a journeyman, right? Like you probably want to anchor your team on both sides of your team. Like, here's the rock star, and here are all the newbies who are hopefully absorbing some of that great energy and becoming better over time. But if those rock stars are toxic, you can just throw the whole baby away.
Right. And I worked at I mean, I worked at a place with a toxic rock star is the best way that's a great way to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got removed, it's a nice way to put it,
Mm-hmm.
um, everything got better, like
Yeah.
across the entire organization, even outside of engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an amazing experience to watch that happen.
Yeah.
Because my wife taught me this. So she has a master's in elementary education, and she
Mm-hmm.
is really good at classroom management.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, if you have a bad student, and you will have a bad student, and you remove that bad student, you will have another student take that student's place. You will always have a bad student because
I
the
like
bar
your wife.
keeps going up, but you'll
Yeah.
always have the one that's at the bottom, and they're going to be the one that takes your most effort. And I was
I,
like,
I
oh
like your wife. I call it teaching to the back of the class. You
yeah,
don't have to teach to the front. The people who sit in the front of the class,
they'll pick it
but
up.
yeah, they are there in the front for a reason.
They're your
I call it
TAs.
teaching to the back of the class.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're going to take the most challenge, and no, you can't just punt them because they're challenging. Because to her point, they'll just give you another challenging student.
And it might actually be worse.
Yes, it can get worse. I really like her perspective on
And
that.
that was very eye-opening when she explained that to me. And that same like concept of classroom management is even applicable to corporate and everything else.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely, absolutely.
when you're in a meeting, you'll see who's in charge, who's not in charge,
Yeah.
who wants to be in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun just learning all of that and then seeing how all of that plays out.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that. And again, to your really good point about what the future might look like, certainly some community aspects around it. We are becoming. I've been saying this a lot. We're becoming the curators, the chefs, the tastemakers of
Right.
building. It's no longer about the ingredient. It's more about how do you layer things to accomplish a goal. Because you can be the best, and I see this all the time. The best developers in the world, they have no idea how to build products because they're not product people. They value the code, not the outcome.
Right. Well, and
And
that's why I think user experience is going to rise above all of it, right?
well, I hope that's the case, but unfortunately, they're getting like completely decimated.
And they
People are.
shouldn't be. Those people are crazy valuable. And I think what's so fascinating to me is I created I forgot who did I do this for. I don't remember who I did it for, but I created a simple application for somebody, and I literally forgot what it. And here is the best feedback you can ever get is I was like, here, oh, it was for Apple Vision Pro, and that was the
Mm,
thing. So I was explaining, I was like, hey, just install it, and you should be able to figure it out. And they did, and they figured, and they're like, wow, that was so easy to use.
yeah,
Best feedback ever. Like,
absolutely. You know, when you build something and there's no questions or everything is so intuitive that they can operate with, but people don't realize that that's expensive. Code is not expensive. What you did or were able to accomplish is expensive. It's expensive because it's time consuming to anticipate client needs or customer needs that haven't been verbalized, but build things that just kind of work.
and doing it uh, in a very simplistic way, and people were like, "Oh, but we need these 37,000 features." No, you don't. You do not. You think you do, but you're wrong. And
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
one of the things I learned from a UX guy, and he was truly amazing, is quietly revealing, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
have all of these features hidden,
Mm-hmm.
and there's advanced ways to get there, but 90% of the people don't need all of those features.
Mm.
And he was like, so keep them hidden. Don't even let them know about it unless they start diving deeper. because their first experience should be the easiest, simplest solution moving forward. And once you get them like, oh, I can do this in my sleep. And then they're like, I really wish, well, actually, it already does that. And here's how you
Mm-hmm.
do it. And then you can actually start educating them of the features that they are unaware of. But you
Yeah.
want to be able to have somebody go into your application, do what they know it's supposed to do, and you shouldn't have to answer anything. The only thing you should answer to them is, yes, it was that easy.
Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. Like,
You're
yeah,
welcome.
you're welcome.
And I mean, that's the best feedback any engineer could ever get.
No, I agree with that so much. I agree with that so
And I
much.
think, in regards to the education stuff and degrees and moving forward, I think UX is going to even accelerate more and more. And I think that is going to be because now we're building in different environments, right? So now we're building with WebXR, right? And now with WebGPU being able to handle real things.
Mm-hmm.
The next level of AI is going to be building in 3D, and you're going to have these entire immersive 3D experiences. But how do you make that simple for somebody to build? Like
Yeah.
Roblox and Minecraft, they've done it.
Mm-hmm.
But let's elevate that past the, I guess, the cartoon level and make it like the real environments and the next level.
Mm-hmm. So it's funny you brought up Roblox. Not to go on a tangent, but I remember you mentioned that you were working on a Roblox project, and I was so envious because I've been trying to get people on, like, brands, to understand the power of that whole community, and you should be on there and and fund the project, right? This is always the case for anything game related. You have to pull people to this understanding that games are important to their brand, and then you got to convince them of the value proposition and how to get paid while doing all of that. But recently, I've been becoming increasingly aware of the toxicity of the Roblox. It's amazing how greed can corrupt something that works so well, right? So
Power corrupts,
Roblox is
absolute
multi
power corrupts absolutely.
Roblox is a multi-billion-dollar. I watched this thing and it had all these numbers and it was just staggering how much money Roblox makes per month.
Yeah, they have
And
something like 70 million monthly active users.
yeah, yep. Oh, hold on.
That might be, I might be even undercutting it. But yeah, Roblox is, I mean, they're winning that world right now. And they just announced a partnership with Shopify. So that
Wow. Oh, so
inter,
you can link.
so you can actually start setting up Shopify stores, I think, in Roblox.
So in 2023, they made $2.8 billion, averaging around $233 million a month, and they have had a significant growth since then.
Right. And they also, for anybody who's selling anything inside a Robux, one, you have to use Robux to buy it. And I think they take something like 30%. They have a
No,
30.
no,
Is it
it's
more?
not. It's 70%.
Oh, so it's 30% that you get. I knew there
That
was a 30 somewhere.
what's crazy is, just think about it this way, right? The concept of an app store place is, Apple created this concept, right?
Hmm.
We all brought into, well, they do all the infrastructure, they do all the, like, the heavy lifting, they earn their 30%, right?
Absolutely.
I know,
And they
some
have to
people,
host it, they have to maintain it,
yeah,
they
yeah.
verify it,
I mean,
and they
I
do
do
all of
think
that.
that
I
there should be
understand that.
exceptions. I do think that there should be exceptions to this, right? Because Netflix and a few other companies, they just kind of run afoul of the way that that system works. But at least we could agree, we see enough millionaires, probably multimillionaires coming out of those platforms, you know. But what they're not doing, which what Roblox is doing something very dangerous, because you have to buy into their currency and you cannot get your money out. So
Nope.
essentially, children are working and not being able to derive financial value that's being promised to them. One, just imagine this. I'll make it really simple. They get 70% of whatever the thing that you build. These are kids, right? So let's just say they're highly motivated children and they're spending time away from school, away from friends, away from a lot of things, building stuff. You know what? Every great game developer I ever heard of has a similar origin story, right? But then you take this incredibly toxic way of managing money, um, and it takes this incredibly toxic way of managing money. People have to put dollars in. It gets transformed to Roblox, but when it comes to paying you, who is all of Roblox is content generated by users, user generated content.
UGC, yep.
Yeah, UGC. We're gonna keep 70%. Then that's a problem, but okay, you don't have to be on that platform. Then on top of it, they charge you a bunch of fees. So in order to cash out, you have to pay these fees. Yeah, you got to pay some type of conversion fee.
Wait, you got to see these numbers. You're right. I'm sorry. I did a little
No,
research.
you're all good. You're all good.
Holy crap. You are so correct. Where do I this one? Yeah, this one. So, let's zoom in on this. Whoops. $80 million daily. Sorry, my number was wrong. It's not monthly, it's daily. Right? So, and the platform has 380 million monthly active users. Here's what blew my mind is 32 million of them are under the age of 13.
Exactly.
58% are under 16. 2.5 million developers on Roblox. Yeah, they engage for 17 billion hours a year.
Just imagine what those hours will be worth building stuff that they own and control. I mean, this is a problem with game development overall, right? Like, you're about to make me get on a really big soapbox.
Wow.
Look at this. Look at these numbers. And then look at the payouts. One, by the way, you can't get paid out until you earn a certain amount of money. So some of these kids never get paid.
Wow, this is cool. So yeah, what is the payouts of this? Distribution revenue? Let's see. So yeah, in Q2 they made 893 million in 2024. All right, so
$893 million in payouts versus
no, that's the revenue. That's what they made. That's the revenue.
Yeah. What year was that?
2024. That's just one quarter. That's in 3 months.
Yeah. So, yeah. Hold on. What's the average? What's the
here are the cash payouts. They paid out 410 million in 2024.
So let's put this in perspective.
Half of what they did in one quarter.
Yeah, exactly. That's insane. They produced nothing.
Wow, and only 96 people made 10 million or more.
$1,000, and they set the limit to like $500. You cannot get paid out until you make more than $500.
Wow.
And to make it even worse, they got creepy adults trying to recruit kids to work on their platforms.
Well, of course they do.
Yeah. We were kind of getting into this. I don't even know. It's
sorry.
No, there's more to this. There's more to this because this kind of leads into what the problem is with video games as an industry. it's built basically on the suffering of people who want to be creatives, right? The concept of being a game developer is like, oh, I want to be a game developer. Well, that's a privilege. To eat shit, get paid no money, be treated terrible, and then if you're very, very lucky, you can build like kind of stitch a career together. And
Fair.
now in this age, all of a sudden, because these projects don't make $1 billion per project, the companies at the top who are siphoning off all of the real money are just like, well, we're gonna just lay everybody off because it's now about making money. It's not about making a product anymore.
Well, and people are chasing the wrong. I mean, and I always believe that is solve a real problem, right? What is the problem you're solving? And I'm okay with making games. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge Street Fighter fan and Brawl
Mm-hmm.
Stars, and I will play that unfortunately until the day I die. But
I got a
uh,
question about that too.
yeah,
Go ahead.
but in regards to that, that's entertainment, right? And so the
Mm-hmm.
problem it's solving is entertainment. But keep in mind, there's got to be a level of entertainment versus addiction, borderline.
Well, this is definitely a thing, right? Like the type of systems that they're building, right? These live game mechanics, they're built around everything we talked about for Roblox is gambling mechanics, and a
Right.
lot of other platforms are also emulating gambling. So in Roblox, it's so in your face, right? You have
Mhm.
to trade cash for chips that you then use to do things, right? The the government has chased down many platforms that have done stuff like this, but Roblox is still kind of going strong. Um,
And
I
they don't do refunds.
dude, there's so much child, I functionally I kind of understand. You got kids stealing their mother's credit cards and you disputing charges. As a policy, that doesn't offend me because I understand like what that must be like. But the the payout amounts, the 70% taxation of the content that you did not generate, that's just out of line. Now here's where there's a big problem. I'm gonna point out to a couple things. One, what just remind me, were you were like top five um, Street
Street
Fighter, right?
Fighter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
top
I,
five.
I was one of the best back in the
Imagine
90s.
imagine if you took your thought leadership and your knowledge of the game and created a fighter.
Like a fighting game.
Yeah,
Well,
all
I
your
know
insight, all your all the things you know that very few people know at that level, and you made your own fighting game.
like collision detection and like pixel distances and then animations and
All
all of that.
all of these
And
things that
all my tech knowledge of it.
right. So here's the
I would
challenge
get
that
sued by Capcom.
insider information. I beat your game for 20 years. Yes, and I made a better clone or a better
A
fighter.
better
Well,
version. My
yeah,
response time is better. Yeah.
the here's what I have a problem with games and on this principle. One, we teach instead of like this whole esports thing. It's about teaching kids to play games. And whenever I come into these programs, I'm like, well, where's the game development arm to this? And they're like, oh yeah, it's over there in the corner. It's like dying. It's like coughing up blood. It's like dusty. It's like it's because that's not really what they want. And I
Yeah.
keep trying to remind people if they will give you $1 million to play Madden, just imagine how much money they're making,
Yes.
right? And you know, of course, I have another slant on top of that. It's like they purposely, control like the infrastructure and the market for these games. They they inflate the marketing costs. They inflate all types of things to make games not be profitable. They do what movies do. They make the movie and it makes money, but they secondarily inflate all of the costs associated with it so that it never makes any money. so they don't have to pay out any royalties, any of the back end stuff that you know that you would have to pay out.
Right. And they're like, "Oh, we have to invest all that in R&D."
Yeah, this is why your favorite games and platforms are not being, we're not doing that because it made 500 million instead of $1 billion. I mean, I'm kind of jumping around, but there's two things that messages I want to be really clear here. It's like a very important industry to you and I, you and me, and probably most of our users is self-destructing in front of our eyes, and we've got to figure something out.
The
And
gaming industry, yeah,
yeah,
about creating it.
yeah, yeah, it's not just games, it's movies, it's art, it's so many different things that's important to every aspect of our lives, and we're just letting a very small amount of people capsize this very large ship.
But what about like all these independent gaming companies?
That's a great question. But we have to have platforms that support and nurture and value
Oh,
independence
and
media.
Roblox is kind of creating a monopoly and preventing those, like, because like
Wait, where's my hand? Where's my
yeah,
hand? Yes.
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 So,
Yes.
because I love some of the stuff that Riot Games has done.
Yeah.
Epic Games is great, and
I mean,
I'll even
management and
call out
Riot
one of
Games is a little.
I sure I'll call out one of the big ones too that I'm a huge fan of is Blizzard, right?
Yep.
Blizzard's amazing of what they've
Hmm.
created over time. Like originally Activision too, right? And when um yeah, there was a game a long time ago, like Pitfall was created by Activision. And I loved that game. I played that game on my Atari 2600 for years. Um but those games I really miss. Those 8-bit games are really
Yeah.
really they
Hey,
were
and
fun,
we have
and
the
I would put them
tools.
down and I would go outside and play and I would do
Yeah.
other things. And now because I walk around with this at all times, I'm like, "Oh, I can play now. Oh, I can play now."
Yeah.
I didn't have to go somewhere like I remember I would get a roll of quarters because that was $10 and I was so excited and I would go to
Hmm.
an arcade and I would do everything in my power to make that $10 last for at least a weekend.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's how I got really good at Street Fighter because if it didn't last the weekend, then I'm sitting in my bunk doing nothing.
I was gonna say that a lot of popular games are not the highest fidelity that we can offer. Like
Right.
like the market has a appetite for games that don't require the type of infrastructure to be so out of reach for a game developer or for a budget that's reasonable so that this can be a profitable industry, not just for a few.
Well, I mean, and look at the like one of the biggest games right now on Twitch is Marvel Rivals, right?
Yeah.
And it's free to play. Why is it
Yeah.
free to why is it
Yeah.
free to play?
Well, this is live streaming. This is live service. I'm sorry, I kept saying
Yep.
streaming. Live service game mechanics. I mean, it's not free, but it's free to get into.
Yep, and everybody on Twitch is playing it.
I
And
love it. I have not played it yet, but I was like, oh well, I got to get my Steam. I'm getting ready for it
uh
because those guys don't mess around. Like they know those characters. They know their skill sets.
well, Ninja's already on it, right? And
Hmm.
they're already talking smack about some of the top players and just watching like the amount of money that Twitch is paying out to have those people just play on their service.
Hmm.
Because it goes back, I mean, I know we were started with education, now we're talking about gaming, but whatever.
Yeah.
What's really fascinating is um, there are people that make a living live streaming and
Yeah.
doing playing video games and they're good at it, but keep in mind like I just showed you on the Roblox statistics, that's about probably 100 people,
No,
not a
absolutely.
100,000,
No,
a
100 people.
hundred.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And this is going back to my soapbox for a minute. When I'm brought into conversations related to esports and getting youth into these areas, my argument is this: they got games at home. They play games at home. We need to teach them how to make it a business. Learning how
Right.
to set up a Twitch, everything that you know how to do. Which again, I'm very appreciative. Every week, you got everything set up,
It's
but
just click, click, click. Yeah.
but it's a skill set that you spent time investing how to learn. That is something that needs to be part of the conversation. Like, how do you set up a successful streaming channel? How do you set up,
Oh,
yeah, how do you learn how to create an audience, drive an audience, merchandise? This is my argument. I literally put this
I
into a
have
plan.
no idea how to create or generate an audience because you can see we have 0 viewers right now.
No, my friend, I want to keep reminding you of this. We have 0 users now. But as we build more content and we start targeting our audience, we collectively have the ability to target audiences. Like we can pull clips from what we're talking about. We can like tag them and
I,
do like SEO and all the type of tricks
I
that we
need a
know.
production assistant.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I get very frustrated very quickly because one, here's a little dirty little secret: esports is not making money anymore. Most of the people that have invested are starting to divest in the teams and all of the leagues. They're like starting to separate themselves.
Even League of Legends, because I know that was
Well, I would
huge.
imagine that there's always got to be an outlier, right? And
Right.
that sounds right, right? I would imagine there's always going to be an outlier, but like I've watched plenty of content that kind of give me the insights that says, okay, a bunch of very rich people bought up the leagues to control the leagues, and then they bought teams, and they're spending millions of dollars a year on these teams, but they're starting to not make money and starting to diversify, like pull away from that. But the outside story is like esports, 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 to the point where they're putting esports labs on campuses. They're like pushing it, and I hate to be derivative, but especially when it comes to like the black community. Like this is a big sell, right?
Is the
And
esports.
it's an esports thing because you have to understand that 80% of black men and boys play video games. 80%.
That's a lot.
But and I've used this thing before, but only five. I'm being generous. 5% of us make
A
games.
living.
Yeah, make a living. I like that even better. Make a
Yeah.
living from the thing that we spend a large majority of our time and money doing.
Yeah. And that's why I like to point out people are like, no, I know people that make good money on Twitch. Yeah, there's about 100 of them. According to Roblox, there's 96, so not even 100.
And meanwhile, these large companies are just at the top of the funnel, like siphoning
Siphoning it away. Yep.
siphoning it away, and we don't. We're not. I don't think. It seems like we might have deviated from the conversation, but all these development skills have to go somewhere. We all can't be React developers.
Nope.
Like someone, so these, and there's nothing as terrifying as trying to become a game developer in this day and
Well, and there was friends of mine who, like, when Bungie was part of Microsoft, they were testers for Halo,
age.
and they were like, I loved Halo until I became a tester for it.
This is a
And
this is a very serious thing. I remind people all the time, like, don't kill what you love. Like,
right, and it's like you don't want to meet your heroes because more
hmm
often than not, they're keep them on their pedestals elsewhere.
yep.
Because in real life, they're people too, and they have bad days, and you might catch them on a bad day.
Well, I think we should just have a lot more appreciation for that fact, both directions, right? Like,
Right,
just because you met someone on a day and they didn't respond the way you thought that they should have, or you feel like they owe you something because they are a celebrity or whatever, like that's not a very mature like
right.
way. To look at it.
Oh, I hit them up in their DMs. They never got back to me.
Yeah, yeah, but it's also human. I think we just need to be more human to each other and talk like, hey, listen,
Right.
chill out.
Well,
Like,
and I think that's one of the things that resonates most with me is that human connection.
hmm
Um, and there's a big, everyone's stressing out and they're like, I want to be a remote worker for the rest of my life. And I was like, there's that whole return to office thing. there's definitely a positive side to that, of that human connection. The time you go to lunch with people. I'm not even talking about the work side of things, but the
Hmm.
social, we are social creatures,
Yeah.
and keeping us isolated like that is, it's honestly a little dangerous. Solitary confinement is a punishment for a reason.
Listen, I agree with you. I think that there's with most things, there's some type of middle ground.
Yes,
But
I'm a big fan of 3-2.
yes, yeah,
You
me
we've had
too.
that talk.
That worked so well for so long. But I will tell you, I worked from home for a long time, and when I got to work with other people, I was so annoying because I tried to soak up every interaction I could because I just wasn't getting it.
Because
You
you
know,
missed it.
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that's so important. And there's only so much you can get from a Zoom call.
Hmm.
And I I'm really, like, I'm grateful that I have an office to go to, and I get pretty excited about that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there's good aspects to like the formal work from office. I don't like this idea of that because people have adapted and moved to different places, and the, let's just call it what it is. This has nothing to do with productivity or all of the positives from being in the office. This is about government like pressure and people, all the Scrooge McDucks who own corporate offices are like forcing, policy changes and just, changes in thought patterns and forcing people to go back to work when that's not how people do their best work. I think two things. One, a flexible, mature understanding and arrangement. And two, let people work how best they work. Stop judging whether or not something is happening if someone's in a seat and start judging the output of that person.
Well, and I'm gonna say something that will be controversial to somebody, I'm sure. I also think the return to office has a lot to do with business real estate ventures
All right. Yes.
and commercial real estate. And people are like, we need them to go back to the office so our values of our real estate will go back up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And after COVID, they were dying, and people are like, oh, well, we did great with working in remote for this long because of COVID, because we were required to. And now they're
Mhm.
saying, why do we need to go back? But I
Yeah,
think, I mean, if you want to know the truth, always follow the money, right?
exactly. Exactly
Like,
right.
we
Yeah.
say that almost, I think that's going to be
Yeah.
our tagline for this
Follow
podcast.
the money.
You follow the money. You
Yeah.
want the truth, follow the money. Um,
Yeah.
cool. So it is 5 after 10. I think we
Hmm.
actually started on time. It has officially been, oh, look at this, 58 minutes and 7 seconds. Look at us.
Look at us, right? Getting
We're
it done.
getting pretty good at the timing again.
Mhm.
So not sure what we'll talk about next week, but I'm gonna wrap this up, and I'm gonna do my little fade out thing. And um, thanks everybody for tuning in. Um, this is John and Shawn saying bye for now. Yay us. Yeah, where's the camera? There it is.
Yeah.
Yay us, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.